Picture this. It's 2 a.m. You're lying in bed. Your phone is in your hand. And you're scrolling through Actors Access for the third time in the past few hours. It's the same breakdowns that you saw a few hours ago. Same roles that you're not right for. And it's been days since your agent has reached out to you. This past week, you submitted for over 40 projects, and you landed 2 auditions. But you didn't book any of them. In 6 hours, your survival job begins. And you're exhausted. You can't sleep because you have a question that is screaming in your head. Am I actually going to make it? And underneath that question is the real one. See? It's the one you won't say out loud. Should I just quit? And here's what nobody tells you. That question, that 2 a.m. moment of doubt, is more dangerous than any audition you'll ever walk into. Because you can recover from a bad audition. You can learn from a rejection. You can train your nervous system to handle the pressure of the room. But if you do not master the identity crisis, if you keep calling yourself a struggling actor instead of a working professional, you're going to quit before you even got your shot. And it's not because you're not talented. It's not because you're not working hard enough. It's because your identity is killing your career before it even starts. Hi, I'm Dr. Albert Bramante, a psychology professor, talent agent, and hypnotist. And I've worked with actors for over 20 years. And I've seen so many brilliant actors burn out. And it's not because they couldn't act. It's because they couldn't handle the weight, the business. So welcome to episode 2. This is part 2 of our foundational deep dive into the mental game of acting. Last week, we went into detail about the biology of the audition room, why you freeze, and why you care what people think and how to handle rejection. And I highly encourage you to go listen to that episode if you haven't already. So today, we're going to go deeper. We're talking about what happens after the audition. The daily grind of the business, the survival job, the months when nothing is happening, the voice that whispers, "You're not good enough." Because here's the truth. The audition is only 10% of your career. The other 90% is how you show up every single day when no one is watching. And that's where most actors lose. So let's fix this today. Let's start with the question that keeps most actors trapped in resentment. How do I balance this darn survival job with my acting career? And here's a reality check. Unless you're consistently booking series regular work, you can need a day job. That's the reality. It's not failure. It's math. So let me give you the actual numbers because some actors may not really understand this or really grasp this. To qualify for SAG-AFTRA health insurance, you need to earn $28,090 from union acting work in the fiscal year, or work 108 days on a union set throughout that year. For Actors Equity, you need 16 weeks under an equity contract during the year. That could be spread out, but it needs to equal 16 weeks. It's not the weeks auditioning. It's the weeks that you're actually on a contract. Now, both of these are incredibly tough thresholds to reach. Most professional working actors, even people with credits, people with agents, people that you see on television, or even on some Broadway stages, may never qualify. And it's not because they're not working, because the industry sometimes does not make it easy. So let's stop pretending this survival job is temporary. For most of your career, it's going to be there. But you see, here's where actors go catastrophically wrong. They treat their survival job as a prison sentence. They resent it. They feel like it's stealing from their real career. So they show up feeling bitter, exhausted, and half present. And that resentment blends into everything, your auditions, your relationships, your mental health, and really your sense of self-worth, which is really a tragedy here. So let's reframe this right now. Your survival job is not the enemy of your acting career. It is your foundation. And here's why. Financial stress is one of the biggest killers of creativity. When you're worried about how you're going to make the rent, how you're going to feed yourself, you're in a financial collapse. Your nervous system is in survival mode. Your amygdala is running the show. We've already talked about how that looks and what that can do. So the goal is not to eliminate the survival job. The goal is to choose one that supports your acting career instead of sabotaging it. So here's a good framework that you want to do, and this is what I recommend for every actor I've ever spoke with. Choose flexibility over money. Now, there's a possibility you can get a high-paying job, but the hours are going to be rigid, and you're going to miss auditions, you're going to turn down callbacks, you're going to be too exhausted to train, and then you're going to start resenting your job even more because it's taking away from your acting career. So choose a job that lets you leave for auditions. That could be bartending, that could be freelance work, dog walking, rideshare, Lyft, Uber, or anything where you can control your schedule. Now, yes, the truth is you may make less money, but you'll actually be available for the work that matters the most to you. I had a client. She was a brilliant actor, took a corporate job because it paid well. Within 6 months, she had missed 12 auditions between myself, her manager, even some of her self-generated auditions. And she just even stopped submitting because of this. And her manager dropped her. We were at a point where we had to have a heart-to-heart conversation. And so when we had that hard conversation, she quit the corporate job, started bartending 4 nights a week, didn't make nearly as much money as she was in her corporate job. However, within a year, she booked 3 commercials and a guest star on a streaming series. So this money from those jobs, those 3 commercials, helped her to recoup what she had already lost by scaling back. So your survival job should really serve your acting career, not the other way around. The second rule is when you have that job, you need to set boundaries with your survival job. Your day job is not your identity. It's a means to an end. I had another client who was in marketing. She was so good at her job that her boss just kept promoting her. More responsibility, more hours. Yes, it was much more money, but that pretty much meant the end of her acting career. So after a few months, we had a conversation and she set a boundary. So no more than 30 hours a week, no more weekend jobs. Now, her boss wasn't thrilled, which is understandable, but she didn't care because she was protecting her time and her space. And within a year, she booked a recurring role in a network show, and that led on to many more bookings later on. So if you don't protect your time, no one else will. I'm sorry to say. The final rule, and I think the most important one here, is to use your survival job as training. Now, this is a reframe that changed everything for one of my clients. He was a barista and he hated it. He felt like it was beneath him. So I asked him to think about this, to use the job as working on his people skills, observing human behavior, being present with people. Now, at first, he looked at me like I was insane. And I said, every customer is a scene partner. Every interaction is a chance to practice listening, reacting, and staying in the moment. So we can look at it here as you're getting paid to train. So he started treating his shifts like acting exercises. He studied body language. He practiced vocal variety. He worked on being fully present with every single customer, even the difficult ones. And not only the customers love him now, but so we started getting much better feedback on the auditions. And even casting directors were complimenting on his work. So you see, your survival job is only a waste of time if you treat it like one. So here's a reframe starting from today. Stop saying I have to go to work. Start saying I get to go to work so I can fund my career. And then also refrain from resenting the customers, the boss, and the schedule, and start treating it like a paid acting job. So stop waiting for the day you can quit and start using it as a foundation that keeps you in the game. Because the actors who make it aren't the ones who avoid survival jobs. They're the ones who can leverage them. Now let's talk about the valleys, the dry spells. There's going to be months where your phone may not ring, your agent may go silent, and you're going to start Googling backup careers for failed actors. And you might even ask yourself, well, how do I stay motivated when nothing is happening? Well, first we have to define, what do we mean by nothing is happening? Because in my experience, when actors say that, what they really mean is, I'm not booking. But booking is the outcome. It's the result of dozens of inputs that happen along the way. Before you step into that audition room. So when you say nothing is happening, I want you to ask yourself, are you training? Are you submitting? Are you networking? Are you updating materials? And are you taking care of your mental and physical health? Most of the time, nothing happened actually means I'm waiting for something to happen to me. And that's not how this works. Working actors don't wait for motivation. They build momentum. Now, here's the difference. Motivation is a feeling. It's going to come and go. It's unreliable. It's based on external validation, a good audition, a callback, a compliment. But momentum is a system. It is the compound effect of the small, consistent actions that build over time. It doesn't require feeling good. It just requires showing up. Now, let me tell you about a client. We'll call her Jessica. Now, Jessica hadn't booked anything in 8 months. She was depressed. She stopped submitting. She stopped training, and even stopped going to industry events. So I asked her, what is the one thing you can do right now, today, that can move your career forward? And she kind of looked and said, well, I don't know. Nothing feels like it matters anymore. I said, that sort of sounds like you're feeling sorry for yourself. I didn't ask how you felt. I asked you what you can do. And she thought about it for a moment. She's like, well, I could add that scene to my reel. I said, well, go do that and email me when it's done. And she did. So then I asked her the next question, what can you do today? Well, she's like, I need to reach out to 3 casting directors that I've worked with in the past and send them my new reel. Great. Go do that. And then we met up a week later, and then she was telling me that there was a Meisner workshop in her neighborhood. Great. Go do that. And then the next week, she thought about getting new headshots and went for a new photo session. By week 6, she had a callback. And by week 8, she had booked a co-star on a cable series. Now, did the work that she do in those 8 weeks directly lead to those bookings? Maybe, or maybe not. But here's what I know for sure. If she had stayed in bed feeling sorry for herself, waiting to be feeling motivated, none of this would have happened. So every day, I want you to do one thing that moves your career forward. I'm not asking you to do 10 things. I'm not asking you to overhaul anything. Just do one thing each day. That could be updating your actor's access profile. That could be sending a thank you note or a follow up to a director, a casting director you've worked with. Watch one of your old self tapes and critique it. What could you've done better? Practice a new play, learn some new monologues, work on your resume, take some classes, practice a scene. There's a lot you can do here. And make this non-negotiable. Every day, do one thing. And if you think about it, at the end of a year, that's 365 things that you've done. That's 365 more things than most actors have ever done. And then for validation purposes, for your own validation, I want you to keep a proof of progress tracker. Now, we talked about the happy file. This is different. You're going to create a second document. The proof of progress tracker is just for you. So every day you're going to write what you've done. And at the end of the week, you're going to review it. Now you're going to see visually and concretely that you're not standing still, you're moving. And when you see progress, even if it's small progress, your brain releases dopamine. That's a neurochemical that fuels motivation. So you're literally hacking your own reward system. You're not waiting for the reward system to come to you. Now, one of the realities of this business is that every career is going to have its peaks and valleys. Seasons of harvest, when you're booking, when the work is flowing, and everything else feels easy. But then there's going to be seasons of planting, when you're training, submitting, networking, building relationships. Now, there may not be anything visible happening yet, but the roots are growing. The actors who quit are the ones who think that planting seasons means they're failing. The actors who make it understand that planting season is required for harvest season. You cannot skip it. You cannot rush it. You just have to trust the process and keep showing up. So here's your new mantra when nothing is happening. I'm not stalled, I'm planting. Now say it out loud right now with me. I'm not stalled, I'm planting. Your brain is listening, and over time, this reframe becomes automatic. The dry spell stops feeling a failure and starts feeling like preparation. Now, we're going to get to the question that really haunts every actor at 2 a.m. in the morning. How do I know if I'm good enough? And here's the answer. You may not want to hear this. You'll never know. And not in the way that you want to know. Not in the way that gives you certainty and peace and the ability to stop doubting yourself. Because good enough is not a fixed destination. It's a moving target. And every time you level up, the target moves again. When you're starting out, good enough means booking your first co-star, then booking a guest star, and then a recurring role, and then a series regular, and then finally your Emmy and your Oscar. The goalpost never stops moving. And if you're always waiting to feel good enough before you go all in on this career, you're going to be waiting forever. But here's what I can tell you. You're asking the wrong question. The right question should be, am I doing the work? Because here's the thing. Talent is subjective. Casting is subjective. What's good in one room may be too much in another. What's perfect for one director may be not the right fit for the role for another. So you cannot control the outcomes a lot, but you can control your objectives. Are you training consistently? Are you studying the craft? Are you watching performances and breaking them down? Are you reading scripts and plays? Are you staying up to date with the PR industry. And this is where you'll read like Deadline. You'll read Hollywood Reporter, Variety, Playbill. Are you taking care of your instrument? And this is your physical and mental. If you're doing this work, that's great. You're good enough to be in the game. So I'll tell you a client, we'll call him David. Now, David had graduated 5 years prior to coming to me from a top tier drama school. He had a BFA. And he was just let go from his agent. And he was about to quit. He was really devastated his agent let him go. So I asked him, how often are you training? And he looked at me and said, I took a class 2 years ago, which kind of told me what I needed to know. So I then asked him, I said, well, how often are you self-submitting? How many breakdowns do you submit? And he looked at me and said, I'll let my agent take care of that. The last question I asked him was, well, how do you evaluate your own self-tapes? He goes, why did you send them in? I don't watch them. I said, David, you're not failing because you're not good enough. You're failing because you're not doing the work. So if we're going to work together, and I told him this condition, we're going to develop a plan. Weekly scene study class. Self-submissions every single day. Want him every week to review his self-tapes. And at least once a quarter go to an industry showcase. And every 18 months he needs a new headshot. Now he started doing this, and within 6 months, this boy booked his first guest star. Within a year, he had 3 network credits. And within 2 years, he was recurring on a primetime series. Now, did he just become suddenly talented? No, he was always talented. He just wasn't doing the work required to turn that talent into a career. He developed a system. So stop comparing yourself to people further along the path. And I see that a lot. Well, my friends are doing this, and this person's doing this, they're my type, and they're auditioning. The only person you should be comparing yourself is to who you were 12 months ago. And if you're better, if you're more evolved than that, then you're on the right track. The next thing is to get objective feedback from people in the industry, people who know what they're doing, from agents, casting directors, managers, acting teachers, not your mom, not your significant other, not your scene partner, but actors that are consistently working or industry. And so that's really important. And then also, we have to understand good enough to book and good enough to build a career. And here's something most actors don't realize. You could book your first job before you're even ready. You just happen to be the right look, the right timing. Maybe you reminded the director of someone that they love, or 2 other actors have walked away, and now you're the third choice, and you booked it. So booking does not necessarily mean you're good enough. It means you were right for the role at that very moment. Now, building a career, booking consistently, being someone to casting your director's request, that requires mastery. And mastery, my friend, takes years. Meryl Streep did not book her first movie until she was 28. Bryan Cranston did not book Breaking Bad until he was 52. And Morgan Freeman did not become a household name until he was in his 50s. Were they not good enough for all those years? Or were they working actors who hadn't had their breakout role yet? See, the actors who make it aren't the ones who are good enough. They're the ones who keep training long after everyone quits. So now we get to the identity shift, the thing that separates actors who book and actors who burn out. And here's another thing that most people get wrong. They think that a working actor is a status you achieve after you book a series of acting jobs. Once I get that SAG card, I'll be a working actor. Once I book a series regular, I'll be a working actor. Once I'm on Broadway, I'll be a working actor. No, that's backwards, you see. You don't become a working actor after you book. You book because you're already a working actor. Let me explain. So your identity, the story you tell yourself about who you are, shapes everything. How you walk into the room, how you handle rejection, how you show up on set, how you talk to your agent, how you invest in your career. So if your identity is struggling actor, you're going to struggle. Not because the universe is conspiring against you, but because your brain is literally designed to confirm your beliefs about yourself. So we call that confirmation bias. Your brain looks for evidence that supports your identity and filters out evidence that contradicts it. So if you believe you're a struggling actor, you're going to notice every rejection. You're going to notice every callback you didn't get, every role that went to someone else. And you'll miss every win, every piece of positive feedback, every step forward. James Clear, who is the author of Atomic Habits, spent years studying the science of identity and habit formation. And he put it this way: behavior change is really identity change. You don't act your way into a new identity. You claim the identity first, and then the behavior follows. Same reality, just a different filter. So, how do you shift your identity? Stop calling yourself a struggling actor. I'm serious. That phrase needs to be deleted from your vocabulary. You're not struggling, you're building, you're training, you're in the early stages of a career that will span decades. Words matter, people. Labels matter. You are a working professional actor, period. And you better damn well start behaving like one. This is where the rubber meets the road. Working actors don't wait for the agent to submit them. They self-submit every day. They don't skip class because they're too busy or they're too tired. They train consistently. They don't show up to set unprepared. They know their lines cold and they've made character choices before they've shown up. They've done their homework and they don't burn bridges at any time. They're professional, punctual, and easy to work with. And they invest in their business. Speaking of which, another story. I'll tell you about a client. We'll call her Maya. Now, Maya was stuck in the aspiring actor identity. She had spent 7 years in LA. She had a few co-stars, but there was really no momentum here. So I asked her point blank, how much are you investing in your business every year? She looked confused. What do you mean? I said, well, headshots, classes, workshops, coaching, marketing, how much? And she just looked and said, I don't know, 500. I said, Maya, you're trying to build a 6-figure career on a $500 budget. That's not a business. That's a hobby. So we did the math. Working actors invest anywhere between $5,000 and $10,000 a year minimum. New headshots every 18 months, ongoing scene study classes, workshops with casting directors, editor for a reel, website designer, coaching sessions, workshops. And she looked at me, I don't have that kind of money. Well, then you better damn well get it. Invest. Cut your expenses, because if you're not willing to invest in yourself, why would anybody else want to invest in you? And that's harsh, I get it. But she made the investment, and within a year, she booked a recurring role in a network show. And that money helped pay for 1 year of her training. So, you want to be a working actor? Then start acting like one today. Now, none of this matters if you don't put it into practice. So, I'm going to give you a very powerful exercise that you can do. And I've worked this with several clients before, and even some really professional working actors. And this is what we call the identity anchor. It takes about 5 minutes. And if you do this every day for 2 weeks, you're going to rewire your nervous system. And you'll start operating from the identity of a working actor, not someone who's a struggling hopeful. So if you're driving, obviously, you'll do this exercise later. Or if you're operating machinery, you're doing something that requires your concentration. So if you're ready to do this, I want you to find a quiet space and allow yourself to get comfortable where you will not be interrupted for the next 5 minutes. And when you're ready, just close your eyes gently. Take a deep breath in, 2, 3, 4, and hold it for 2, 3, 4. Now exhale slowly for 2, 3, 4, and hold for 2, 3, 4. We're going to do this again. Take an inhale, 2, 3, 4, and hold it for 2, 3, 4, and exhale for 2, 3, 4, and hold it for 2, 3, 4. We'll do that one more time. Take a deep breath in, 2, 3, 4, and hold it for 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, and hold it for 2, 3, 4. And while you're sitting here relaxing with your eyes closed, I want you to imagine yourself 5 years from now. You're a working professional actor. You're booking consistently. You have credits you're proud of. You're on set right now. See it. Take note of where are you? What does the set look like? Who's around you? Hear what the director is saying. What's the energy like on set? What does it feel like in your body right now to be this person? The confidence, the ease. See, this isn't fantasy. This is your future. And right now, you're stepping into it. Now, I want you to ask yourself, this future version of yourself, 3 questions and listen for the answer. The first question is, how do you show up every day? The next question, how do you handle rejection? Finally, what do you believe about yourself? Take note of what you hear. These aren't affirmations. These are instructions from your future self. Now, I want you to just stay with this for a moment and feel what it's like to be this person. And press your thumb and forefinger together. And just hold for 10 seconds. We're creating a neurological anchor. Every time you press your thumb and forefinger together, your nervous systems can remember this state. Now repeat this statement out loud. I am a working professional actor. Say it again. I am a working professional actor. Again, I am a working professional actor. Your brain is listening to you right now. And over time, this is going to become your default operating system. Now, before we open our eyes, I want you to imagine yourself going through this tomorrow into the version of yourself. See yourself waking up in the morning. How does a working professional actor start their day? Now see yourself at your survival job. How do they show up there? Now see yourself submitting to projects on Actors Access and Casting networks. See yourself training and investing in your career. You're not waiting to become this person. You already are this person. Now you're just remembering. Now take one final deep breath in, hold it, and relax, and just allow yourself to relax a little bit deeper. Now, in a moment, I'm going to count from 1 to 5, and you can return to the here and now. 1, 2, 3, coming back. 4, eyes beginning to open. 5, eyes open, feeling wonderful in every way. Now, I want you to do this exercise every single day for 14 days. It could be morning, could be at night, but just do it. And then also, before every audition, every class, every self-tape, I want you to press your thumb and forefinger together and hold it for 10 seconds. Your nervous system is going to drop into this identity state much faster. This isn't visualization. This isn't positive thinking. This is neurological conditioning. You're training your brain and body to operate from the identity of a working professional so that when you walk into that room, you don't have to fake confidence. You don't have to believe in yourself because you just are. So let's bring this home. We started the episode with you lying in bed at 2 a.m., scrolling through casting notices, wondering if you should quit. And I told you at that moment that identity crisis is more dangerous than any audition you're going to ever walk into. But here's what I want you to understand. Every actor who has made it has had that very moment multiple times. Meryl Streep had that moment. Bryan Cranston had that moment. Viola Davis had that moment. Every actor you admire, they all stood at the edge and wondered if they should jump. The difference is they didn't quit. They didn't quit when they didn't book for 6 months. They didn't quit when their agent dropped them. They didn't quit when everyone around them said, maybe you should have a backup plan. They didn't quit because they understood something that most actors never figure out. This business isn't about talent, it's about identity. So it's about who you believe when no one else is watching, whether you call yourself a struggling actor or a working professional, whether you treat your survival job as a prison or a foundation, whether you wait for the motivation or build momentum, whether you claim the identity before the industry validates it. Because here's the secret they don't tell you in acting school. The industry doesn't make you a working actor. You make you a working actor. And the moment you claim that identity, the moment when you stop waiting for permission, start operating from the belief that you already are, and you're trying to become, everything shifts. It's not going to be overnight. It's not magical. And it may not even be on your own time, but it's going to be inevitable. And you're going to stop apologizing for your career. You're going to stop explaining why you haven't made it yet, because you're not trying to make it. You already are in. You already are it. Now we're just waiting for the evidence and building the evidence. So thank you for tuning in. I'm Dr. Albert Bramante. And if today's episode resonated with you, I would love for you to go to mentalrehearsal.show and sign up for our mailing list, and I'll send you an unshakable actor mindset recording. And also, share this episode especially if you have an actor who may be on the edge, who's thinking about quitting. Show them this episode, because I think there's the information that they can use. Because somewhere out there's an actor who's about to quit. And maybe we can help them stay focused and stay on track. Now, in the next episode, we're going to be talking about being able to get in and out of character. And it's the actors that don't know how to separate their own trauma from their character's trauma. So subscribe down to Mental Rehearsal so you don't miss it. Until then, I'll leave you with this. Until then, let me leave you with this. You're not aspiring. You're not struggling. You're not waiting for someone to anoint you. You are a working professional actor. Not because you booked enough to prove it, but because you claimed it. Now go train.